Welcome to the second video in a series on symmetry in music, where I explain the importance of near symmetry and harmony. Near symmetry refers to when a chord is one semitone away from transpositional symmetry, the topic of the previous video. Most musicians don't realize it, but near symmetry is a hidden key to understanding why certain chords and scales dominate music. It's associated with consonance and smooth voice leading, making it essential for anyone who wants their music to sound great. I'm Jay Beard and I make videos about Scriabin and music theory. Check out my website to see the lessons and courses that I offer, like the new Applying Set Theory course, and please like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's get into the magic of near symmetry at the whiteboard. The important thing to understand from last video is that sets with transpositional symmetry completely map all their pitches onto themselves when transposed by certain transposition levels. This episode is going to discuss voice leading, so we'll mark the transposition level with a T in terms of semitones, and the number of semitones pitches have to move to arrive at their destination will be counted in semitones as displacement. So when an augmented chord moves up 4 semitones, we'd call it T4, and there'd be 0 displacement because the pitches didn't change at all. Our goal is to uncover the magical efficiency that happens when a neighboring set 1 semitone away transposes the same distance as its symmetrical neighbor. Moving any pitch of an augmented chord up 1 semitone makes a minor triad, and any pitch shifted down makes a major triad. You might wonder why that works by moving any of the pitches, and it actually makes perfect sense when you consider that the augmented chord's triangular shape has equal lengths. Major and minor triads are inversion pairs that are considered nearly symmetrical because they're 1 semitone away from the symmetrical augmented chord. So what happens when we transpose a major or minor triad up or down 4 semitones? Let's try transposing C major to E major with parsimonious voice leading, meaning we're voice leading pitches with as small of a distance as possible. The E stays put as a common tone, the C moves down to B, and the G moves up to G sharp. So we have a displacement of 2, and the 2 pitches that moved away from each other in contrary motion. Sounds smooth. Music theorists agree that low displacement is associated with smooth chord changes. Also, composers love contrary motion. It just feels satisfying. Here's the kicker. All nearly symmetrical sets share this trait. When transposed by the same interval their symmetrical neighbor maps onto itself, they move by just 2 semitones of displacement in contrary motion. Let's explore the nearly symmetrical neighbors of the maximally symmetrical sets. If we move a pitch from a diminished chord up, we get a half diminished 7th chord. And if we move a pitch down, we get the dominant 7th chord. Both are nearly symmetrical, just 1 semitone off the diminished 7th's maximal symmetry. The nearly symmetrical neighbor of the whole tone set is the mystic chord. The most well-known version of a mystic scale is to move the G sharp of a C whole tone scale up 1 semitone. I don't think Scriabin was thinking in terms of sets and geometry, but he definitely utilized the ideal voice leading that comes from using the near symmetry of maximally symmetrical sets. Here's an example from a piano solo section in Prometheus. We start out using the exact pitches of the mystic scale mentioned above, only the bass is on E. For simplicity, we'll call it a regular C mystic scale, and Scriabin essentially transposes it a tritone away by simply moving 2 pitches in contrary motion while keeping the retained pitches the same. Scriabin's demonstrating he understands that 4 pitches are retained when the mystic chord is transposed a tritone away, and that the most efficient voice leading is to only move 2 pitches in opposite directions. Let's nail down exactly how this 2-note voice leading magic works. My metaphor is that symmetrical sets are like wormholes that instantly transport pitches across musical space. We can think of the 2 displacement movement of nearly symmetrical sets as moving 1 semitone into the symmetrical wormhole and 1 semitone out of the wormhole a distance away. Going back to our C major to E major example, G moves up to G sharp, stepping into the symmetrical wormhole of the augmented chord. In the wormhole, it's automatically transported 4 semitones in either direction because it's simultaneously C augmented and E augmented. Then the C moves down to B, exiting the wormhole to a nice consonant nearly symmetrical set, which is miraculously a far distance from home despite only moving 2 displacement. This process of course happens all at once, but breaking down each move separately helps us see how symmetrical sets are the structures that undergird efficient voice leading. In the Scriabin example, the A moves to G sharp, giving us the whole tone scale, then D moves up to D sharp, bringing us back to the mystic set. This second scale contains the pitches we'd arrive at if we had simply shifted the regular C mystic scale up a tritone to F sharp mystic, but we did it just by moving 2 pitches in contrary motion. There's 2 major takeaways from this video. One is the 2-note voice leading technique for nearly symmetrical sets. You can practice moving 7th chords or half-diminished 7th chords by the transposition level that a fully diminished chord would map onto itself, T3, 6, and 9. See if you can arrive at the pitches of those transposition levels by moving 1 pitch up and 1 pitch down. Enter the wormhole and exit on the other side of pitch space. There are so many ways to apply this concept in your own music, which we'll be demonstrating in the next episode with examples. The other big takeaway is that nearly symmetrical sets sound consonant. They're some of the most prominent sets used in music. It's hard to say exactly why, but this seems to suggest that the voice leading potential of a chord in some way relates to how consonant it sounds in isolation. Last episode we discussed how symmetrical sets sound dissonant, and this could relate to how transpositional symmetry creates a dead end for voice leading because they can't be transposed to all 12 positions. Nearly symmetrical sets are probably consonant because they retain most of the common tones of their nearly symmetrical neighbor, creating ideal voice leading without having the pitfalls of perfect symmetry. Yet last episode I offered another explanation for consonance and dissonance in regards to the harmonic series. This creates a chicken and egg situation for explaining consonance and dissonance. Let me explain with an example of a maximally nearly symmetrical set we didn't cover, the perfect fifth. Fourths and fifths are the most consonant intervals, and they just so happen to be the nearly symmetrical neighbor of the symmetrical tritone. So does the fifth sound consonant because it's the first overtone with a simple acoustic ratio, or is it consonant because it's the near symmetry of the tritone? The answer is both. The mathematical principles embedded within music are such that acoustic consonants relating to the harmonic series and efficient voice leading relating to near symmetry tend to align with one another. Here's an elegant quote from the book A Geometry of Music that portrays this idea. Suppose God asked you at the dawn of time to choose the chords that humanity would use in its music. There are 2 different choices you might make. You might say, well, God, I'm a somewhat cerebral type, and I'd like to combine efficient voice leading and harmonic consistency, since this will allow me to praise you with glorious polyphony. And God would hand you a suitcase containing nearly even chords, including the perfect fifth, the major triad, and dominant 7th chord. On the other hand, you might say, you know, God, I'm kind of a hedonist, and at the end of a hard day of hunting and gathering, I'd really like to hear chords that sound good. Chords whose intrinsic consonants will put a smile on my face. And in this case, God would hand you a suitcase containing the perfect fifth, the major triad, the dominant 7th chord. In other words, he would hand you the very same chords, no matter which choice you made. Ultimately, this was possible because of the non-obvious connection between efficient voice leading, harmonic consistency, and acoustic consonance, a connection that we now understand as a simple consequence of the hidden symmetries of circular pitch class space. Next episode will explore more nearly symmetrical sets and show several musical examples implementing these concepts. Thank you all so much for watching, share it with a friend, check out my website, join the Discord, and please like, comment, and subscribe.